Hey friends, welcome back to the Habit of Showing Up podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Sparks, and today's message is one I believe many of us need right now. It's called Don't Quit, Pause with Purpose. You know, we don't control as much as we think we do. We make plans, we set deadlines, and we push forward. And then life steps in and says, sit down. And when that happens, it's easy to think that something has gone wrong. But sometimes that pause isn't a setback. Sometimes it's an invitation to slow down, to think, and to listen. You know, years ago, I was preparing to move from Chicago to Los Angeles. I was so excited, ready for change, ready for something new. But just a week or two before my move, Chicago had one of those heavy rainstorms and my basement flooded. 8 to 10 inches of water. Everything that I had packed and a lot of my furniture floating. It was gone, destroyed. When it finally dried out, I went downstairs to clean up. And I was moving too fast, trying to keep, my plans on track for the move. I slipped. I cut open the palm of my left hand on a rusted nail. What seemed small at first turned into a week in the hospital with an infection, and my move was completely delayed. I remember feeling so frustrated. I kept asking, why now? I had everything planned. But looking back now, I see it differently. That moment wasn't a punishment. It was protection. I was being forced to slow down. There were things I hadn't finished, conversations that I was avoiding, and emotions that I hadn't processed. I was leaving my family and a home that I loved, and I hadn't really sat with what that meant. That flood and that infection became my teacher. They showed me that sometimes what feels like a setback is really a step up for clarity. I learned that when life tells you to slow down, it's not saying stop dreaming. It's saying think it through. Make it solid. Showing up doesn't always mean charging ahead. Sometimes it means giving yourself permission to sit still, reflect, and ask, what am I being shown here? And if you're a caregiver, that pause can feel especially uncomfortable. Because when you're responsible for someone else, slowing down can feel like falling behind. Maybe the pause looks like sitting in your car for an extra minute before going inside. Maybe it's staring at the calendar trying to figure out how you're going to juggle one more appointment. Or maybe it's realizing you're exhausted, but still showing up because somebody depends on you. Pausing with purpose doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop abandoning yourself while you care for everyone else. And this applies to all of us, not just caregivers. Because life doesn't pause to punish us. It pauses to prepare us. When I find myself in these moments, there are a few things that help now. I write it out. You know, your girl loves a good journal. Don't rush past what you're feeling. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Clarity comes when you can see it. Sit in the moment. Resist the urge to fix everything right away. Some answers only come with time and quiet. Talk it through with people you trust. one or two people who can listen without judgment. I hope you have that. Even if you don't take their advice, hearing another person's perspective can sometimes help you see the bigger picture. I do this often when I'm trying to figure out things with my daughter Grace. Not because I'm always looking for a solution, but because speaking it out loud helps me understand what I'm really being asked to do next. So if you're in a moment right now where things feel uncertain, maybe life slows you down, your plans shifted, don't take it as a sign to quit. Take it as a sign to pause with purpose. You're not falling behind. You're gathering wisdom. You're not off track. You're being guided towards the right one. Because this life game isn't about being first. It's about being faithful to the process. It's about showing up through the pause, through the pivots, and through the parts that don't make sense until much later. So write, reflect, talk it through, and then, when it's time, move forward with clarity and peace. Because I said this life game is called Don't Quit, Pause with Purpose. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Habit of Showing Up. If something you heard today resonated with you, take a moment and sit with it. If you think it can help someone else, please pass it on. And remember, you don't have to quit. You're allowed to pause with purpose. I'll see you next time on The Habit of Showing Up.